Now, a big game on Tuesday, the first of two matches against Leicester in the space of, well, it's going to be 5 days. It's the league meeting that's up first. Let's talk about the points deduction, shall we, Steve? 6 points deducted. Well, we were expecting more, surely.
Pathetic.
So let's talk about 20 points at one point.
So let's compare and contrast. I know they're not comparable, but let's do it anyway. Sheffield United last season got deducted 2 points at the start of the season because they were 3 months late with a transfer payment to Liverpool for the transfer of Rhian Brewster. So they got a points deduction for that, 2 points. Obviously didn't cost them anything in the long run. They finished third on 90 points, even with the 2 points off. But this season, Leicester have been hit with a 6 point deduction for massive breaches of profit and sustainability regulations. They did not cooperate with the investigation, and so therefore it was kind of assumed by everybody that this was just going to be it was going to be deemed an aggravated breach, and therefore points penalty would be something starting at 12 and potentially working upwards. So for it to have only been 6 has come as a little bit of a surprise to people, and it does feel as if Leicester are one of those clubs that just get away with this stuff. Yeah. Obviously, they got away with a deduction 2 years ago because they had a better lawyer who managed to spot a loophole in the way the rulings were written and who had jurisdiction and this, that, and the other. And of course, the reason there is now a statutory points deduction when a team goes into administration is because of Leicester. In 2003, they went into administration shortly after they'd moved to the what is now the King Power Stadium, was then the Walker Stadium, and basically they stiffed the contractor that built the ground, Bar Construction. So I think we paid about 30 million for St Mary's.
Yeah.
Their one opened a year or two later, and was 2 or 3 million more. But they paid £5 million for that stadium when they're in administration. But that season they got promoted. So they were in administration. We're still able to spend way more money than they could afford, basically as a gamble to get promoted and take the Premier League money, which is exactly what happened. So that was why the FA and Premier League and Football League got together and came up with a statutory deduction for teams that go into admin. So yeah, everybody's got them to thank. But on this one, yeah, it just feels.
More, it didn't feel enough.
It doesn't feel anywhere near enough. But I mean, we've seen bearing in mind that Leicester's fans are even more irate than ours when it comes to sort of levels of expectation. And the fact that this now obviously puts them into a relegation battle, they're now obviously only out of the bottom 3 on goal difference.
Yeah.
You do wonder whether they have the players that have got the mental sort of fortitude to be able to fight in this battle, because they sure as hell wouldn't have been expecting it at the start of the season. Any new player that signed would have been, I'm going to Leicester. I'll be first or second in this league. It'll be a nice, lovely little walk in the park for me. And now you're being asked to sort of muck in and try and scrap for points against the likes of Blackburn and Pompey and West Brom.
And to be clear, they're not very good. I mean, they've lost 4 of the last 5 games. They've had a player sent off in the 15th minute of their most recent game, 30 minutes the game before that. They've been down to 10 men, but both games at half time. And actually, it was something that Tom the Record commented on, because he sort of said, we'll have only 1 or 2 games to look at to assess Andy King's Leicester, who's obviously the interim manager at the moment, and sort of see how they play and stuff. But we couldn't use the first one because they had a man sent off after half an hour. And they just had the same thing even earlier. Yeah, even earlier yesterday. But yeah, I think Steve makes.
They did against us as well, didn't they?
Yes, it did. That was a young lad, wasn't it? To be fair, we've done him. We've done him
just after half time, was it? That was
or some maybe before, but yeah.
That was first half as well.
Yeah, so they're obviously they're bang out of form. They're right in it, and like you said, Steve makes a good point. There'll be teams down there that they've been recruiting for this fight. Leicester haven't, so I am very intrigued to see what happens. But we got to go there and make sure that we do our bit first before we can even talk about that.
Well, we've got a dreadful record there, haven't we? So not hugely looking forward to that one.
Do you think they only gave him 6 points because they signed Joe Aribo on loan?
That was the punishment.
They thought it would be unnecessarily harsh to give him any more than that.
Well, I noticed that he went straight into the first 11 at the weekend.
And
got booked after 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Joe. I think he's a decent player, but he's obviously not at it this season because of you can't just sort of drop into a team like that and to go straight into the first 11 in the midfield, mental.
So he was in midfield. He was in midfield with Oliver Skipp. I mean, if you can think of a slower central midfield than those two. So yeah, obviously Joe won't be able to play against us. No further comment necessary. But
it's a shame, really.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what Leicester do. But yeah, I totally agree with your point. I mean, when they played us at St Mary's, they were pathetic in terms of their attitude. I mean, we've seen a team in red and white stripes this season not putting it in, and you can tell. When you've seen it, when a team is not putting it in, and Leicester were playing to get Cifuentes sacked, and they've eventually done that. I mean, I know he's gone now, but Wout Faes and Vestergaard were both absolutely pathetic in that game, just whinging at each other and not bothering really. And and the whole Leicester team, their heads went down massively once the lad got sent off, and they just didn't put it in. So it was obvious that Marty Cifuentes was going to get sacked somewhere down the line, and they got rid of him. And it will be interesting to see if they can raise the game. But if it came to staying up is about mentality most of the time. I mean, Leicester should have better players than the other and
they do.
Down there.
Mavadidi,
but they're still reaping the rewards for getting away. I mean, I know you can never do these things straight away, but basically, when they got promoted automatically, when we were behind, we went up in the playoffs. This was hanging over them back then.
Yeah.
And this 6 points is for the 3 years up to 23-24. So I don't know quite if that includes that season, which is the season we got promoted, 23-24. So you could argue that they got promoted basically by cheating and getting away with it. And that never sat right with me that they've gone up. They've got all the Premier League money again and parachute payments and all that sort of stuff as a result of getting promoted. And now they're down again. And just to add my voice to this, 6 points.
I do wonder whether. I mean, one kind of side thought on that in terms of obviously that promotion season was the third of the sort of reporting period that they're talking about for this. Leicester got promoted by 7 points, I believe, ahead of Leeds. So Leicester getting deducted 6 points effectively meant that it didn't affect who got promoted automatically in 23-24.
Also, one of the mitigating factors in the FA filing was the fact that in that final season of the free rolling period, they dropped from like 100 million loss to 20 million loss or something, and they put that forward to say, look, we know that we sort of effed up here, and we sorted it out within this period anyway. So I think that was one of the things
they sold Dewsbury Hall basically on the final day of the financial window, didn't they? After they got promoted, basically sort of pointing to Nottingham Forest, saying, "Look, we've done it better than them. We're at least trying." When I mean, you could have sold him a year ago, lads. Actually, you'd have probably got more money for him back then as well. But obviously, the sporting success thing was more important. But I do think that there is an interesting angle where if they got 7 or more points, all of a sudden you could see a legal challenge from Leeds because Leeds, if they'd had that point deduction 2 years ago, Leeds would have gone up automatic. They wouldn't have had to play us in the playoffs and muck up the playoffs again. They'd have gone up and they'd already have another year's worth of Premier League money. But where it's only 6 points, they're scot-free. I don't know whether the Football League plans to appeal because obviously it's an independent commission. Both sides have the right to appeal. Leicester have said they might appeal just on the basis that why not?
Oh, do it. Do it.
Personally, I'd love them to appeal.
Do they double it if they lose?
Actually, 18 points. That sounds about right. But yeah, apparently someone was quoted as saying, yeah, Leicester would have been absolutely fine with the penalty if it was just a fine. I was like, yeah, of course they.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. What ridiculous, most sort of stating the obvious comment you could possibly come up with. But yeah, I mean, it's good that they've finally settled on something. But obviously, it's not as severe as it probably should have been.
Man City next then.
Yeah, was it on the third anniversary this week, wasn't it? The third anniversary.
Yeah.
Just to bring it back to us, do you think the Magic spreadsheet's going to be out in force, Glenn? Because you'd want to start with the same 11, don't you? But I just don't know that he will.
Well, the question marks will obviously be Flynn Downs, and we've got good cover there. I would and Ross Stewart because of his past record. So I would imagine that Ross Stewart will start the game again, and he's only playing an hour just over. Yeah. So I would imagine he will start, and he won't.
And he'll have Saturday off.
Yeah, he won't be anywhere near the FA Cup game. So I would imagine Stewart will start. It's probably a bit early for Carl Laren to start, to be honest. So I think he might start in the FA Cup, but I think Carl should be left for the last half an hour sort of thing. Play against tiring defenders as well, where we'll talk about the rest of his performance. Obviously, he scored a brilliant goal, but he didn't look 100%. Whether he's just like that or whether he's not 100% fit, I don't know. But maybe he'd be better off playing against slightly tiring defences sort of thing for the last half hour of games. So
probably a bit of both.
So yeah, lots of things to consider, but I don't see the team changing outside of maybe Flynn Downs on Tuesday. But watch this space for the FA Cup game, because I think predicting the team for that
that's going to be a really difficult one to call, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's going to. You're going to talk about that later, but that'll bring in the likes of Cam Bragg and the likes of Ryan Manning, Cam Archer, people like that. So yeah, but I don't see too much changing on Tuesday night, to be honest, and I hope it doesn't, because as said, no, don't. Regardless of what Rasmus Ankersen says, if it ain't broke, just leave it.
Leave it as it is. We will do a podcast on Wednesday night. I think we've agreed we're going to do Wednesday night at 7:00 to talk about the Leicester game and then talk about the next Leicester game. So we'll be here Wednesday night at 7 for that one. Just in terms of predictions, we had almost 100 entries this week. Only 9 of you didn't predict the win, but just 5 of you called the 1-0. So a few people picking up some points. Just in terms of the latest standings, Gaza still top with 40 points. This is our little league we're doing online. John Howson is second and Jeremy Hutchinson is third at the moment. So let's do our predictions. Leicester, I think we said, have won just one of their last 5 championship games. Alfie, your call first for Tuesday night?
Interesting. Well, look, there's an interesting battle coming up where Wellington can really sort of elevate his cult icon status. If he can keep Fatawu quiet for the entire game, then that's their biggest threat, sort of marginalised. And I'm looking forward. Headphones just come out. Sorry about that. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on. I'm also intrigued to see Jamal Lascelles. They signed on deadline day Jamal Lascelles from Newcastle, and Lascelles, whenever he'd played for Newcastle, he was quite well respected up there, wasn't he? He'd always done quite well for them, I think, and obviously they've outgrown him. But he's a good centre back. I thought there was a good signing, and I've not seen him at the weekend. Maybe he's miles off the pace, but I will go for, even though our record at King Power is poor, we won the one game there when Chatham scored twice, I think, to remember correctly. I'll go for a 2-0 win.
2-0 win. Steve?
Just our record up there. I can't predict a win, I'm afraid. And I think we did look a little bit leggy at times Saturday. You would think Leicester should be leggier than us, given that the last two games they've had to play with a man down for most of the game. But I'm still not quite trusting of this lot when the situation kind of turns more in our favour. I think they need to. I don't know. Something just bubbles under for me that there's possibly like one result, and suddenly everything falls apart again.
No, not anymore, Steve. They're working with a psychologist, so should be fine.
You need a psychologist.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Our record up there's dreadful. Tuesday night, I don't think there's that many of us travelling. So as much as we gave their fans a load of amusing stick for only bringing about 600 down that night, I think our numbers are going to be similar. Short notice rearrangement. I think we've had 2 weeks notice for a game brought forward to an earlier Tuesday night, rather than push back a few weeks to give people time to sort plans and stuff. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be many of us up there. So yeah, I just fancy they'll find a way to jammy one. I mean, whether it's Batterby pinging one in the top corner from 40 yards or something stupid. So I'll go for a 1-0 loss.
Wow.
Okay. It's not on Sky either, is it? Which is slightly annoying.
Thank God for that.
Glenn?
I'm going to go for us to score early and the whole ground to turn against the Leicester players. I've seen nothing to demonstrate that they're really up for the fight that they find themselves in now. So, yeah, hopefully we can get an early goal and then control the game from there against the team that doesn't really know what they're doing at the moment. But like Happy said, I thought Jamal Lascelles I've always thought he's a decent player. I thought he was a bit unlucky, really, to find himself so far down the pecking order at Newcastle so quickly. But
and Dan Burns is still getting games.
He hasn't played for a long time, Lascelles, has he? He's not been. It's probably 2 years he's sat at Newcastle without hardly playing. I don't think he even got in the Carabao Cup teams, that sort of thing. So he's really not played much at all. So hopefully he's not 100% at it. But no, I'll go for a 1-0 win again.
Okay, I like this.
Asmir Begovic is still in goal for Leicester as well, we should say.
Is Vestergaard going to play? He's been injured, isn't he? So,
he didn't play on the weekend.
He didn't play at the weekend. I think they've been
he's marked as doubtful on flash scores.
Yeah. Oh right, okay.
I think Okoli's back from suspension because I think his red card 2 games ago was for denial of goal scoring opportunity. So that's only a 1-game ban.
He cost 25 million quid.
Who, Okoli? Did he?
Yeah. And
Seriously?
Skip cost 40 million, I think.
No, Skip was about 25 as well.
They've wasted some money.
Was it Winks?
Winks also 20 odds. Yeah, just
Hudson Daka. How much was he?
They bought him, to be fair, back when they were a competent team, didn't they? He was meant to be the understudy to Jamie Vardy, but just never delivered. But yeah, a lot of money again, probably. Yeah.
If you want to play along with your predictions, all you need is your Patreon login, and you can find that leaderboard and how to get involved on the website, which is totalsaints.co.uk.